All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. This video is titled The Madness of the Gender Unicorn, Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. Now, just quick announcement. I was in Vegas for the weekend, but now I'm back, so you will be seeing the videos on a more regular basis. And about this gender unicorn, so like many of you, you don't know what this is. I didn't know what this was until I saw a little bit of this video. And after watching about a minute or so of it, I definitely knew this was something that I had to bring to your guys' attention. So with that out the way, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while you're watching. Now let's roll it.
But the notion, and this is being taught to school kids, this is mainstream doctrine, Joe. I mean, look up the gender unicorn. That's a fun thing to look up. I mean,
what is the gender unicorn?
The gender unicorn is this little happy symbol that's being marketed to children, in elementary school, describing to them the fact that biological sex, gender identity, gender expression, and sexual proclivity vary independently. They're going after them very young. And so that's part of the school system now in many places.
So in many ways, it's sort of an indoctrination. They're trying to.
You might say that, yeah.
The gender unicorn.
The gender unicorn, man. Check that thing out.
Gender identity: female, woman, girl, male, man, boy. Other genders: gender expression: feminine, masculine, other. Sex assigned at birth: female, male, other. Intersex. Ooh, like aliens. Physically attracted to men, women, other gender, S.
Yes.
Emotionally attracted.
So what you do if you're a kid is you put a little.
Now you can tell by the illustrations on this chart that is marketed to very young children, and that's where, someone like me has a problem with this, because the older kids are, the more likely they are to be, influenced by their parents and stuck in their ways of knowing about what gender is and what gender isn't. It's much easier to confuse a second grader or a third grader rather than an eighth grader or someone who's in high school. So the fact that they target very young children, knowing that they're the most impressionable and the most likely to fall for or, be confused by something like this, it should be alarming to any parent or any person that wants to become a parent.
Little marker there on the arrow to show where you're located on all those independent dimensions. And obviously, if you look at the style of the gender unicorn, you can tell what sort of age it's aimed at, because that looks like it's certainly not aimed at kids over, I would say, 10.
Yeah, why does the gender unicorn have a double helix DNA symbol where its penis or vagina should be? That's
to indicate that there's no such thing as biology, I presume.
But why? That's how ironic.
Yeah, you might say so. Yeah,
it's a weird place to put it over the crotch of the unicorn.
Yeah, there's an indefinite number of weird things about that. Yes, there's the genderbred person. That's a
genderbred person has a male symbol, female symbol, and then a what am I all together with a circle. Is that a hole? It's not a hole. Circle. It's a strange, problematic place for the circle, I would say. Very assumptive.
I would say so, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, I don't like that at all. I feel triggered.
Well,
the whole thing is, it's so bizarre, but what's even more bizarre is the lack of dialogue. I feel like you're in a weird position where there's a tremendous amount of support for you outside of the academic system. People like me, so many people that support your YouTube videos, so many people that read about you online. You're experiencing all this backlash at like McMaster's and these sort of things, but people are not engaging you, and the way they're keeping from engaging you is saying that you are demonstrating hate speech.
Yeah,
like that big sign.
Well, there's hate speech, there's racism. The reason I've been called a racist is because I criticized the University of Toronto's decision to use the Toronto chapter of Black Lives Matter as policy advisors. And the reason I did that was because the two women who founded Black Lives Matter in Toronto, let's say they have questionable reputations, and leave it at that. And so apparently that makes me racist.
Yeah, and unironically, when you look at the founders of Black Lives Matter here in America, the three women that founded that were all self-proclaimed Marxists, and they wanted to get rid of the nuclear family. So, whether it's Canada, whether it's America, you find these same reoccurring things, man.
Because, well,
you're not allowed to question them because
apparently
they're black.
Not. Well,
they
yes,
have carte blanche.
One of them has publicly stated that white people are inferior to black people because they don't have enough melanin in their skin, and melanin is the chemical that communicates cosmically so that you're spiritually enlightened. That was one essential claim. And the other one is embroiled in a lawsuit with the University of Toronto Students' Union for essentially she's been accused of embezzling with a couple cronies about $400,000 from the coffers of the Students' Union. So I felt...
And that's why BLM now stands for Buy Large Mansions, man. This is what they do.
That perhaps those weren't the best people for the University of Toronto to be associating with when they're formulating their anti-racist policies.
Well, clearly that makes you racist.
Clearly.
Well, it's
and
fascinating.
transphobic as well.
Oh, altogether?
Yes.
In one little lump sum,
That's
right there,
me,
just
man.
one thing.
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating about that is like you're not saying anything about black people. You're saying about two individuals that you're having
Yeah,
very
but
specific things.
you know everybody that makes up a group is the same. You see, you have to understand that.
Men and women.
Right. That's right. Except men and women.
Because men and women can be anything.
Well, there's an interesting angle on the transsexual thing too, Because these activists, they stand out and claim that they're standing for oppressed communities, right? And first of all, they identify the identity group that they're activating on the part of as a community, and then they imply that it's a homogenous community, and then they state that because they happen to be members of that community by their own admission, let's say, or by their own declaration, that's a better word, that they are now legitimate representatives of that community. And one of the things that's been quite fascinating to me since this has occurred is that I've had a comparatively large number of letters from transgender people, about 35 so far, and every one of those except one was positive. They are not happy about my sampling of the trans community, which isn't, it's not a random sample or anything like that, but 35 letters is a lot when the community of people is actually quite small. And they're not happy at all. They're not happy to be so publicly discussed now, because many of them would just as soon have some privacy, and they're already...
Now, like Jordan Peterson said, 35 people might not be much, but when you're talking about the trans community, you aren't talking about too many people as it is. It's incredible to me that the needs of such a small group of people are taking precedent over everyone else's needs. If you want to do your trans thing or do your gay thing, your LGBTQ thing, and you know what I'm saying, in your own home and in your own life, and not try to push it on other people, that's fine. But at this stage in the game, they are definitely out of bounds. You know what I'm saying? They've stepped out of bounds. They've crossed that line that we drew in the sand. You get me? Because it's not like you have straight people out here telling people how to live. I mean, I'm sure there may be some of them, but there's no make the world straight movement. I've never seen it.
Having trouble fitting in. They don't regard these people as legitimate representatives. They don't believe, they're not homogenous in their political viewpoints, and they're not necessarily fans of the people who are playing gender bender games, because many of the transsexuals who are, let's say, serious about it, for lack of a better way of describing it, aren't happy that this has become a kind of a fad, essentially, and that they're being used by the politically correct types to further their political agenda. So that's quite cool too, because it isn't obvious to me at all that the attitude that I have towards the situation is actually different in any genuine sense than the attitude that at least a substantial minority of the transsexual people themselves have. And there's plenty of them on YouTube who are complaining about the social justice appropriation of their
Movement
identity.
or
Yeah, well, I don't even know if
yeah.
they have a movement. They're not a
Right.
community, right? I mean, they're not a community. I mean, a community is in continual contact with one another. They have something that directs their actions in common. I mean, but on the postmodern end of the spectrum, if you have some identifiable group feature, then that means you're one of that group, and that everything that you do indicates only that. I mean, there are believers in race and gender and sex. They believe in the reality of those categories far more than anybody on the right, as far as I can tell. So it's very peculiar and unnerving. So and widespread and powerful and all of those things. So
Yep, widespread, powerful, but it's coming from such a small group of people. But that's how you know that there are people. There's people on top of the small group, on top of the trans community, that just want to take advantage of it for their own gain. They want to make money. They make money off of it. They always find a way to make money. BLM, they found a way to make money. A lot of these nonprofits, they find ways to make money from this stuff. They monetize it. But with all of that said, this was a W breakdown, great breakdown from Jordan Peterson. And, you know, even though this video is a few years old, I mean, the problems are just as prevalent. They've only gotten bigger and worse, you know, so that's why I felt like this was a great video for you guys to watch. Now, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on your way out the door. Till next time, you guys, I'm out of here. Peace.